What are you thinking about when you look forward to this Canada Day weekend? Clearly, any long weekend is welcomed, particularly one that usually comes with great weather, the official start of summer holidays, and invites us to picnic and sail the ferry to the islands or head for cottage country and barbecues and escape from the school year with the end of exams and graduations and saying goodbye to friends who won't be sharing classes with you come the fall. And Monday night concludes with a bottle of wine in the park as you watch the sunset, or climaxes in fireworks in the neighbor's backyard. We have so much for which to be thankful. God's bounty is to be found wherever we look. What country has the diversity and splendor of ours? Whether we're speaking of the diversity of the people or the splendor of the environs. There are resources aplenty, a constitutional monarchy and justice system comparable to the very best. Rights and protections are promised to all. We have so much. The last time we were invaded ended in 1814. While we have gone to war to aid allies and what is right and good since then, our civilians have remained safe at home. Our good neighbors to the south ensure that in keeping their states safe, ours is protected. Our prosperity is seen in so many forms: social services, parks and hospitals, schools and freedom to worship, open spaces, forests, rivers and permafrost, lakes and prairies, cities, towns, villages and campgrounds, pastures and gardens, wildlife and pets. We just seem to have so much that we take it for granted that it will always be there and that somehow we deserve it. So let us give thanks for our wondrous good fortune and work hard to maintain it to be passed on to another generation. Canada Day is a cool time, even when the sun shines bright and hot, a time when one can lie back and relax and make plans for the summer or just doze and dream. And while dreaming, try looking back at the Canada you first knew and the Canada of today. Change is inevitable, and I don't want to sound like a grouchy old "in my day" type. Some things are wonderful and new. While I enjoy receiving and sending handwritten notes on special occasions, instant access to family and friends via the internet is great. Hopefully, as the use of the internet matures, abuses will be worked out, and the anonymity that allows the shaming and humiliating of others is erased. There is a welcome confidence in having a cell phone always at hand. If I'm needed, I can be found, or conversely, help can find me. My congregation may be small, but like a family is a source of constant joy. Although I do miss the activities and different interest groups a big church can provide. I love my relatively efficient, energy-wise car. She faithfully starts on the coldest of mornings and cools me in the hottest of days. But I do abhor the cost of the fuel and bike lanes and 5-car-long streetcars, things that are touted as good for the environment, while stealing your precious hours, creating more traffic and smog, imposing more poverty in these tight times, and those things that give a false confidence in security while exposing one to new dangers. So that's my preliminary list of the pleasures and irritants that come to my mind. Canada has changed, and not always for the better. A prime example, the changed work, recreation rhythm of our week. Weekdays used to be for school, work, sports, homework. Friday evening brought freedom from that routine. Weekends used to be a time for family and friends. Friday evenings and Saturdays tended to be occupied with dating, going to the movies, shopping, and sports. Time was always found on the appropriate day for worship, whether at a church, synagogue, temple, or mosque. But come Sundays, everything shut down. Bars, theaters, sports venues, and businesses were shuttered. Morning was for church. The best afternoons saw walks in the parks and ravines, drives in the country, curling up with a good book, or just napping. And then came dinner. It was roast chicken surrounded by veggies, dressing, and gravy. And the one day of the week that we had dessert. The family sitting around the table, sharing the exploits of the past week, plans for the week ahead, news of the day, and tales of relatives and days gone by. Sounds a bit boring when you say it, but it had a wonderfully refreshing rhythm. Instead of the constant pressure to be doing something, going somewhere, being seen, and being up on the latest fashion, online games, posting social updates, trying to be an influencer, you had time not to do anything in particular. But best of all, it was a time when different generations aimed for unity and companionship in their own ways. In the intervening years, we have become much more judgmental of others. It used to be okay to judge the strength of a slap shot, whether you could sing the songs they wrote, how many pounds they could press, or the number of laps they could swim. It was fair game if all could cheer and laugh about it. You were to be judged by what you did and how you did it, not judged by another's standards of how things ought to be done, but how well you lived up to making things better. Your actions spoke to who you were, and character was everything. Keeping your word meant something. It was a time of promising to overcome all the wrongs of the world at every possible occasion: women's rights, Vietnam, birth control, equality, zero population growth, peace. To prove our bona fides, we belted out, "We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday." Oh, it is deep in my heart that I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We were working hard to make a living, or at least enough to keep a roof over our heads and some left over for the coffee shops and guitars and the Save the Children box. We concentrated on the positive in the people we met and ignored those who didn't get with our latest cause or craze. And no one was stigmatized for differences on how the goals could be attained. We got involved with politics because we understood they controlled the purse and they could make change. But it wasn't just one party. Whatever leader or policy appealed to us that election, we would work for or against. We ran for office, sometimes won, sometimes lost. It was all part of this wondrous game of making a better and stronger Canada, which would be good for everyone and the world. Simple goal, eh? Hopefully, we will get back to letting people work their own way to being the best they can be, so that Canada will be too. We can start by looking in the mirror for flaws and looking at our neighbor for reasons to applaud. Believe and act, and the day will come when together we will all be moving forward to an ever greater Canada. Let's check up on our progress when we come together on the first day of July next year. And so I pray, thank you, O great Creator God, for the riches with which you have endowed us. Why we were chosen to be the beneficiaries of so much we do not know, but we are so pleased to be here and not in some sorrowful, war-torn land, or hungry and thirsty in a place that cares not for those without power. Make us worthy caretakers of these lands, and let us share our bounty with those in need. The children no longer go to bed with empty bellies anywhere. So may it be. Amen.